Well, this episode, the garage is a mess. If you haven't seen this garage, go back and watch a video. But we got a garage now. But this episode, we're gonna be working on this Cushman. I haven't had any videos of it, I don't think. I got it a little over a year ago now. It's got an engine I haven't seen in one of these before. It's got this horizontal, the slant single cylinder, not an opposed twin. I see a lot of opposed twins in these things. From what I've read, what I could find, I cannot find anything on this. I joined some random Facebook group and they said this is a 9-horse original motor, obviously, but they said it's a 9-horse. I've been having problems with it. Old carburetor, cleaned it. I broke the bottom jet. Can't find one for cheap, so I got this random carburetor on here. But even with the old carburetor, it will idle all day. It'll rev up here all day. You put it under a load, it has no power. I tried adjusting the timing, different coil. I've done a whole bunch of stuff to this other than a rebuild. I haven't ever checked the valves, but the way it idles and runs, it sounds fine. So, parts for this thing are expensive, and I don't know. But it's got a 3-speed manual transmission, kind of like a 3 in the tree. You got, I don't know where the gears are currently, but let's say first, second, and then you lift it up, third, and reverse. But that's probably not right. But yeah, it's a little beat up. It's a little rough. It's got a brand new front tire on there. I don't think that's the right front axle. The bearings are a little sloppy, or they just need to be tightened up, or it needs bearings. Someone cut the front fender off for some reason, and there should be like a big front fender thing too, I think. She's pretty mangled up. This frame rail's actually bent in, and someone added a whole bunch of washers to hold the bed on, but it's not pretty. It's not perfect, so we're not going to hurt anything with what we're about to do. I mean, look at the bed. She's rough, but I like it. It's got a good sized bed on it. It's bigger than a golf cart that I've seen, any golf cart bed, and it sucks. It's a single seater, but I don't know. Put someone in the back, but the only problem with that is you can't haul and have someone in the back. But it's alright. I don't need anyone riding with me anyway. But I only rode this once, and I've got it up to 45 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden it started running like crap again. So I have no idea what the issue is. It just has no power. So, being that's only a 9-horse, we're going to put this thing in here. It's off of a snowblower I got for free on the side of the road. I'm not sure how many horsepower it is, but it's got one of these electric start deals where you plug in a cord, and I wanted to tear the starter apart and see if it's a 12-volt starter with a resistor or whatever, but no, it says 120 volts on it, so maybe I can find a 12-volt starter to put in this thing. But for now, we can do, we can just pull it over. I mean, I've had it running. It starts like one pole. I mean, the oil looks good. It's a little low. Or no, it's not. It's actually over full. But it hasn't ran. I think it needs a carb clean, because it kind of leaks a little, but it runs good. The exhaust is a little rough, but I can't keep that exhaust on here. I don't know what it looks like underneath that muffler, but I gotta run exhaust out under the bottom or something. So yeah, this motor is gonna come out. Not sure what I'm going to do with the clutch deal yet. I'll figure something out, because I want to use the original clutch. So like, I can put it in first gear, rev that motor way up, and drop the clutch and push it up against something and do rolling burnouts with it. Or I don't know. I like the old clutch setup. Yeah, so we're going to get started on this thing and tear the motor out of it. So yeah, let's get going on that. So here's a little better look at this motor. Just single cylinder. This starter is massive. Like, I've seen car starters smaller than that. Actually, the starter in the Imperial I just put in is smaller than this starter. But the exhaust is... That's it. That's all the exhaust is. Pretty cool setup for the alternator. I'm pretty sure... Actually, I'm not sure. Now that I see that this is green. But there's other pictures online of this setup and other Cushmans, and it's a pretty cool setup. Just a one-wire GM alternator on here. There's a number. Not sure if you can read it. I cannot find anything on this exact motor for pictures or information or whatever it is. But it's got a points ignition system. Pretty simple. Like I said, I've had it running before, but it's got zero power, and I've tried doing everything I could think of, so I have no idea. Actually, that alternator might not be original, because it might be a stator inside of here. I'm not sure, but it's a disaster in here. We gotta gut this thing out, so we're gonna take all this out, leave the transmission in, and mock up a new engine. Well, I got the motor out finally. Here it is. It's in pretty good shape overall, but I think the main problem I'm gonna have is trying to get this bell housing and clutch to fit on that motor, but I can do some fabricating. I'm gonna try to not destroy this and to not destroy anything down here, because if I can, I want to try to make it so it can always go back to original. I'm obviously going to make mounts for the motor, but all that should be able to bolt in. The motors are kind of the same size. This one's obviously taller and at an angle, but like the bottom plate is overall the same size. I'm not sure what this shaft does at all, actually. It spins at the motor opposite direction, so I don't know. I don't even know if this motor is going to work in here, because the shaft is weird and it came out of a snowblower, so I'm guessing this extra shaft has something to do with the snowblower deal. But with the spacing of this to this is like a normal 3/4 inch crankshaft, so I can always put a clutch on here, but it's going to stick out this much farther than a normal clutch. But let me get this bell housing off and figure out what I'm going to do next. Well, I pulled the clutch out so far, and looks pretty good. Someone's ripping on a bike. I don't know if you can hear that, but this clutch looks pretty good. Not much wear on it. I think it's usable, but anyway, got pretty much like a mini truck in here. Nothing too major. I think this is good. I mean, it isn't 180 horse moving 5,000 pounds around. It's this. I think it'll be fine. Obviously, I'm gonna try to find one of these because realistically, that isn't gonna last. Really don't. Well, I mean, this one's getting rusty, but we got really two major ones that are holding it, and it's gonna break. I should have paid attention to what way this fell out. I'm guessing it went this way. Pressure plate, I think. I don't know. Hopefully I can find a clutch alignment tool for this. Otherwise we're just kind of guessing. I gotta figure out how to get the flywheel off, which I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe it just pulls off. I can't tell. I can't see in there. Oh, nope, I see the 3 bolts. So I'm pull them 3 bolts out, pull the flywheel off, then I can get to the rest of the bell housing bolts. Alright, so here's kind of my plan. I got the motor set in here. It turns out this is a 13 horse, so I'm actually upgrading it. What I wanted to do was like build a bell housing on the motor and use the clutch and whatnot, but I don't think we're gonna go that route because I'm not that kind of fabricator to make a bell housing. It's too much for this rig. She's it's not the best of shape, it's a little rough. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this old clutch disc, probably gonna pop these rivets out and take the disc itself off. This isn't the sprocket I want to use. I haven't ordered it yet, waiting on a paycheck so I can order it, but it's gonna be a bigger sprocket to kind of gear it down. I'm not sure how much I need to gear it down. What I plan on doing is welding a, what do you want to call it? Welding a sprocket to the clutch disc, and not sure if I'm gonna go the method of like making a mount for this pillow block. Not sure how to even attach it. I think I'd have to use a part of a jack shaft and I'd have to completely make a mount for this, which isn't that hard, I don't think. It'd be kind of something like this. Not sure. Just whatever way I can get this, just to kind of support the end of this shaft. Because I don't know how much stress I can really put on this, because like most engines, these are just spinning. There's no like pulling force on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a clutch for this, just like a centrifugal clutch off a go-kart. Because I've seen TikToks, and my friend's actually done one where it's got a small SUV, I don't know, like a Chevy Trax size, or whatever them things are called. I don't remember what his was, but all he had was a centrifugal clutch running down with a chain to kind of the same setup, but his motor was up higher. But kind of the same setup I want to do. I want to put a centrifugal clutch on this motor, kind of mount it kind of somewhere where it's at. Run a chain from that clutch to this sprocket, which this ain't the sprocket I want to use. And then from, yeah, just a clutch on here, chain to this, and then that's it. It won't be a manual. I mean, it's gonna be like a semi-automatic where you can still shift the gears or whatever, but you might have to turn the motor off to shift gears depending on how easy this spins. Yeah, there's not much friction there. Well, I mean, it probably would stop the centrifugal clutch, I guess, if it's not idling too high. But so yeah, that's just kind of the setup I want to do. Not sure how I'm going to do it yet. Yeah, there's a lot of wobble in that. I should probably make like a, well, I got to get rid of this plate, but I should probably do something with, well, where did I put it? Oh, I should definitely probably do something to make a bracket for this. I'm trying to keep it as close as I can, just so I can get away with using one pillow block and then just a shaft and a spacer. And I got plenty of old sockets we can use for a spacer adapter deal in a welder. I can make it work, but that's kind of the plan. I gotta get some parts ordered, figure out what I have from a previous project. I thought I had a jack shaft, but I can't find it. So I might have to order a jack shaft. Make a, I don't know how I'm gonna get this. Well, first, before I weld this on, or make a bracket for this, I need to get the jack shaft in there and make sure it's all centered. And I'm not sure how I'm going to get it perfectly centered, but I'll figure something out. So I can maybe get, I don't know, trying to make it so, I mean, we can take all this junk out and you can put a stock motor back in. And all you would have to do is buy a new clutch disc, which obviously this one's bad already, so I'm not really hurting anything. So I just got some figuring out to do. It might be a couple days till I get back at this project, but yeah, I'll see how far I get with this. Alright, so this is where kind of at right now. You've seen me cut the clutch disc apart. I got this sprocket, I've had this pillow bearing, I just recently got the shaft and the sprocket. So I mean, I'm gonna probably try to cut it off here. One pillow bearing should be enough. I shouldn't need one back here. I mean, it's nice and tight. It's spins freely, and I'm just hoping there's gonna be enough room. This is all tacked up. I welded up these blocks together to get the spacing. I can always put some shims underneath the what do you want to call it, the bearing here, and everything's kind of level and true with each other. I used one of these things. Never used one before, but kind of leveled things up close enough. I'm just a little worried about where the motor's gonna go. This is gonna be cut off about, I don't know, right here when it's all finished, so this shaft won't be here. I'm just worried about where the motor is gonna be to line up with this. I think it should fit right here, and I should still be able to put the hood on. I'm going to kind of mess around with that a little bit and get back to you guys. This probably gives you a better visual of what I'm trying to do. Just lining up a centrifugal clutch on this motor. Lining it up with I think I got 41 chain. Obviously the shaft will be cut off, but I just got it sitting in here, sitting in a socket on one side. The engine's probably got to turn just the tiniest bit, and I'm not sure how I'm going to line up the chain yet. I might borrow, thinking about try to borrow like a laser or something from work to get it lined up. I'm a little worried that this way is going to be off versus this way, but I think if I leave just the tiniest bit of slack in the chain, well, not that much, but it's just sitting on there, but if I leave just the tiniest bit of slack on the chain, I think it'll kind of take up for the offness. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm pretty sure where this is sitting, the starter's got to come off, but I think with the starter on, the body should fit perfectly around this. And what I plan on doing is putting the pull rope, drill a hole, and putting a pull rope on the outside of the body. Not sure I'm going to do with the throttle yet, or the air filter, or the exhaust. But yeah, this is kind of the plan. Just giving you a little visual. I can't speak, but you know what I mean. Just trying to give you a little image of what my plan is. The motor is just a tiny bit crooked. It was a little more straight when I welded it, but I'm pretty sure when I welded it, it kind of cocked a little bit, but I can kind of loosen the bolts and twist it how it's supposed to be. But other than that, I mean, the chain isn't getting hot, so it's not binding up that bad. Well, as you see from the last clip, I got the engine mounted. I missed a lot of the recording just because I kind of figured to bore you guys. So I got this plate off of Amazon. It is completely wrong for the Tecumseh. It says it fits Predator 212 and like the 420 and the 413, I think it is. I'm not sure, but this is Tecumseh, and I'm not sure what bolt pattern the mounting plate is, but 2 of them are lined up. I don't even have bolts in the other one yet, but I kind of twisted the engine a little bit with the bolt, loosened the bolts. It's lined up a little better. I mean, if anything, I just gotta cut this plate back off and re-weld it, but it's holding on there. If you notice, it's a different direction. I had to take that wheel off and beat the drum with a hammer because the brakes were stuck, but I drove it out and did a loop and drove it back in. That's the farthest I've ever driven this. Well, I mean, I've driven it around the block with the old motor at an old house I lived at, but it barely ran. I think this one was in, I want to say first or second gear, but first gear, I mean, I'm sitting up here trying to steer it, and at the same time, here, I'll just show you. So, I was sitting up here, the motor's under me, trying to steer with one hand, so I'd be steering with this hand, and reach down, and this is kind of my throttle. So I did that, and boy, she had some torque to her. And I just went out and looped around and come back in, and she had quite a bit of torque. Fuel tank situation. I might just, because I got till next weekend to use this machine for an event. It'll be up at the White Pine Log and Thrashing Show as my little golf cart. Everyone up there has a golf cart, so this is a golf cart, right? But I think I'm going to mount the tank right here for now, just somewhere over here, and then I'll just gravity feed into the carburetor. Not sure what I'm going to do with the muffler yet because it's blowing out. I still got to kind of Dremel out 2 holes on that plate and get the other 2 bolts back in there. And if you're wondering what I used for spacers, I just kind of want to not look at what I used for spacers. That's a 7/8 socket. This is just random pieces of metal I found in the ditch. I mean, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. This, oh, it's in gear. But this spins nice and free. So I'm assuming it's lined up enough. We get a little bit of play in there, but it's good enough. You see where the exhaust is kind of blowing out. Not sure I'm gonna do with the fuel filter yet, or not air filter yet. But and the engine's kind of sitting this way a little bit, but I can always come back and cut these mounts and mount it in here better. I want to use it next weekend, so I'm not really taking my time. I'm just getting it in here. So it's just going to kind of not really be tack welded in here. It's just going to kind of be a little more than tack welded in here, just so I can use the thing. I got to put the body back on. I got a throttle cable I got to try to jerry rig up to this pedal, which is, I'm not sure. I don't think that's going to be enough play. I think I'm going to have to go down here. I don't know. I have to make something work with the throttle, and once the throttle is on, move the gas tank. Maybe I can look at the brakes. Not sure. But otherwise, it's good enough. Good enough for me. So, that's it for tonight. Not sure how much of this video I'm going to do. Tomorrow I gotta load my truck up and get some tractor stuff in there, but for tonight, this is it. Well, a little bit has changed. I got the gas tank bracket mounted up here. Gas tank's gonna kind of sit here. Hopefully it's enough to gravity feed the carburetor. It should be. This is good enough for a throttle cable, right? I mean, everything moves. I don't know. I gotta figure out how to mount, what do you want to call it? That little tiny thing to the governor rod. I kind of made a mount back here It's not the prettiest, but it works. Probably going to do the same thing up here. I'm just not sure how I'm going to connect these throttle ends to... Well, this one's on the rod, and this one's up on that rod, so not sure how I'm going to do that yet. Alright, hopefully the music's quiet enough so I don't get copyright, but we got to make a muffler, because this muffler is blown right out, and I don't really want to just weld this pipe to this head. I'm not really sure if the head is weldable. I don't think it is, but I don't want to do that. So we're going to do it kind of the right way. And some of you might recognize that cardboard box, but we got a little template made. I'm going to go put this on some metal, and we're going to try to attempt to cut it out with what I got here. Alright, so I got this piece of metal that's way too thick for this, but it's going to be nice when I weld to this and it ain't going to burn through. Got used some spray painted what I needed. I'm going to keep that cardboard template for when this paint wears off and I know where to drill all the holes. One of the problems I'm going to have with that is this motor must have ran a while with that muffler burnt out. And yeah, she's kind of smushed, so not sure what I'm going to do with that. I don't know if this aluminum magnet don't stick to it, but if it's not aluminum, I'm just going to try to tack weld that, but pretty sure that's aluminum, so not sure what I'm going to do yet. This bottom side, I think, like gasket maker will take care of that, but not sure what I'm going to do with that top side yet. Well, if I don't have to, I'm not going to trim it because I'm lazy, but we kind of got a template made out here, as you can tell. So we're going to see if it fits on there. Well, it's been a few days now. The garage is a disaster. I brought the square body box in here because I got to use it this weekend. My welds are terrible. Like, they're awful. Things have changed. But let me explain why the welds are terrible. So, this is a gas welder. It's an old Hobart. It's some other random... I don't know. It's a Hobart. It says somewhere on here Hobart, but it says that on there. I don't know. It's old. But it's a gas welder, so you got gas. And it welds pretty good. But there must be a kink or something in the hose, or well, the lead. And every once in a while, this 3-5 wire, every once in a while it'll jam up in there and you just gotta clean it out. So I ran out of gas, which I'm gonna refill it tomorrow because I'm done dealing with this thing. So I went to O'Reilly's and bought some flux core wire, which you can weld without gas. It's welded fine with other welders I've used. It just looks like shit. Flip the wires around so they'll weld on flux core or whatever. But this is a smaller wire, 0.30 versus 0.35. I don't know. It's just a tiny bit smaller. But anyway, that kink being in a line or something jamming up in the line, don't mind the garage is a mess. I got projects going on. But there's a kink somewhere in the line, or it's rusted, or it's wore out. So I can't even weld more than 2 seconds without this going a disaster. I got more wire on the floor. Like, there's wire everywhere just because of this. I've cut more wire out of this spool than I've used wire. Nothing wrong with this spool of wire. This wire's fine. I've used it in other welders before. Doesn't weld the prettiest. Like, you can lay a nice bead. Not like this. You can lay a nice bead, but it's gonna look like this. Slag everywhere and whatnot. But I cannot weld with it. I need to get a different lead. It's awful. It jams up. You gotta crank the wire speed way up. And then when you crank the wire speed way up, it jams up in here, and you gotta tighten this way farther down than it's supposed to be. It's not right. I gotta get a new lead for this thing. So that's why my welds are terrible. I haven't even finished welding around this. So things have changed. I got a muffler because it's really loud. This is conduit. This is not exhaust pipe. This is conduit down to here. I got a hanger professionally installed, and kind of just dumps out on the ground right there. So, I mean, it's got a muffler. Not sure how long this is going to last. Obviously, this is not the motor I want in here permanently. I'm just trying to get by with what I got so I can make it to the show this weekend to have like my own little golf cart deal. But I plan on putting like a Predator 301 or a Predator 420 or whatever in here with electric start. I mean, this has got electric start, but you need to use power. So this is permanently I don't know. It'll be in here until something breaks. But this is kind of permanent. This setup here is kind of permanent, but the motor is not. So that's why I'm not really caring what this side looks like. But so we got a throttle. We're using the normal throttle. There should be no governor. That's one end, as you can tell. I gotta do something about this so this doesn't fall out on this end. And I gotta zip tie it up still, but it just kind of loops around. I made this little bracket, so that end sits in there. But then, well, you can't see it. You really can't see it. So there's basically a small version of one of these little saddle deals that you use for like copper wire to hold, not copper wire, like steel wire rope stuff. I don't know. It's the same material as your throttle cable, but it's a lot bigger. That's what you use these for. Like, I don't know what you'd use it for. Can't think of an example, but that's what that is. So I have that directly to a governor rod, and then I got swung around here, drilled a hole in the frame, use this as a mount, drilled a hole in this, which I don't know how I'm going to hold that in yet. Probably just another one of these. I don't know yet. And then yeah, we got throttle. But now the problem is, to turn it on and off, I got to reach under here and do this lever. And then to start it, I got to take the hood off, or I should be able to go through the seat, fold the seat up, prime it, pull it, and should be good. It's a good running motor, but this is not permanent, so don't freak out. Yes, that's a socket, but it's a bad socket. We can grind that all back down when we're done, but I didn't mess anything up where we can't go back original. All you have to do is grind all my welds down, which they're not anywhere where it's going to screw anything up. Grind all my welds down, get a new flywheel because the original flywheel was shot, and I'm using that to connect to the transmission. So nothing is ruined or it can't go back to how it was. But we got throttle. I kind of got ahead of myself and mounted the gas tank mount right here, but then I ran the exhaust and realized I can't put the gas tank here. So I'm going to try to use a stock fuel tank in this. I got a fuel pump electric. Well, I got to see if this thing charges 12 volts to use an electric fuel pump. It should, because it was for a snow blower that I found on the side of the road for free. It's in the snow blower, and that had lights on it. It didn't have electric start. It had the 120 volt electric start. But we're going to see if I can rig a fuel pump up to use a stock fuel tank. Not sure if the needle is going to hold against a fuel pump. I guess we're going to find out. Probably need a regulator, which I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Maybe just mount the I don't want to mount the gas tank in a box because we're going to use the box, which it's not really usable with all the holes in the box, but we're going to use the box at some point. So not sure what I'm going to do about a fuel tank, but as of right now, if I dump gas in the carburetor, it'll drive. So before I did all this, when I had the old muffler on here, I took it down the road and back. This thing is geared low. We can probably pull a trailer house with this thing. I'm sure everything in here will break before that, but it's geared low enough to pull a trailer house. So if I ever put like a Predator 420 or something on here, I'm going to get a smaller pulley on the transmission so we can do whatever. I should probably cut the shaft off so it's not so long. So yeah, that's just kind of a little update. I've been mad about this thing for the last 2 days, so I haven't really recorded much because I'd work on this for 2 seconds and the welder would act up, and I'd work on the welder for 3 hours, and so on. Other than the wire issue, this welder welds nice. Well, it also overheats. Other than them 2 issues, it's a nice low welder. But I'm gonna get working on this. We just had some terrible storms, and I don't know. I probably shouldn't be out here, but I gotta try to get this thing done for this weekend because we got the tractor show and I don't have a rig to drive around except for this. So we gotta get this running. See, the gas tank's back here, so I'm gonna try to, I don't know if I can gravity feed that. Probably not. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll see if it gravity feeds. Well, this thing's geared a little too low, so I'll just take it around the yard here. That should be first. The fuel pump likes to overflow the carburetor. So this is first gear, that's how low it is. I think second gear is perfect for a yard. Put it back in second. That was third for a minute there. Let's put it in first and see what kind of torque it's got. It's geared really low. And it bottoms out super easy because it's about a mile long. See, we're hung up. Oh, my exhaust was touching the ground. It's smoking there. That's good. If you get enough speed, you can just kind of roll over everything. I'm sure that exhaust will break off. Uh-oh. Yeah, the exhaust keeps touching the ground. There's smoke everywhere. I wish I had more of a mud hole back here to test it. I don't know, it doesn't really spin, I guess. It does a little. Now second gear taken off. So this whole time, ever since this video kind of started, I haven't hooked the fuel pump and it's still running, so I think it kind of gravity feeds. I don't know, I gotta figure out a regulator, but you can see how low the exhaust sits. Oh, I gotta zip tie up my throttle cable, but I'm sure the exhaust will break off this weekend, but we've finally been able to drive this thing. I like it where it's geared. I don't like how low it's geared. Maybe a little higher. But this way we can load the back full of wood. Well, until I figure out something with the jump box. But for now, we just gotta prime up the pump every once in a while. I mean, that's really inconvenient, but I tried running it off the motor power, but it's not enough power to run this pump. But yeah, I gotta fix the box, obviously. That's where the battery goes. I got a cover for that, but all this up here is rotten. So yeah, the Cushman kind of runs. You guys will get, what is this? Oh, fence post top thingy. But you guys will get updates every now and then of this thing. So yeah, that's the Cushman. She runs finally and drives. So yeah, this is a new little yard workhorse thing. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.